Hey, what's up? If I was to give this show out of 5 for Kenyan people who love Kenyan production and have been yearning for something different, I'll give this a 4.5. For people who've seen Fallout, 10 Cloverfield Lane, you'd probably give this a 3.9 or 4. Why? Because it's a concept that we've seen before. It's a concept that actually, if you played the Fallout game, yeah, this is a familiar concept. In fact, this idea can live very well in the Fallout universe because you have the same kind of idea from Fallout in this particular production. Now, what makes this actually really good, apart from the fact that they actually focus on the sci-fi element? Number one, I thought it was less of that and more in terms of this is a character-driven show. It focuses a lot on performances. It focuses a lot on the drama around these individuals because the idea is there's this organization that wants to do an experiment with a bunker, an underground bunker, and so they look for specific personalities to be in that particular experiment, and so they do like proper checkup. They look at the history. They look at what this kind of a person is. They basically do their research on these people, and then they pick them out. And then now they take them inside the bunker. Now, after they go inside the bunker, something major happens on the surface. Something huge happens on the surface. So they are unable to actually go back. They find themselves trapped within this space. And the thing about that particular experiment, it picked a very, very interesting group of people. They are a dynamic group of personalities that have different issues. They have different problems. Now, here's the thing. As much as they have all these issues, there are issues that are very much familiar to the kind of issues that we go through. There are personalities there that you know. There are secrets and aspects about these people that are revealed that you go like, wow, I know a person who's like that. I know a person who's going through this. So it feels very grounded. It feels very Kenyan, even with the set. And the prop people came through because we have very familiar furniture. We have very familiar props that look like things that Kenyans can only relate to. I mean, there are seats that you'll see and go like, wow, I know that seat. Now I know that style of a bed. So it's all, I know that sofa, I know that design. It's all very familiar. And I like how much detail the prop team were able to give the bunker. Outside the prop team, there's the costume team who gave them the look. Especially, there's a character called Orange. Orange is a very interesting character. She's what's the best way to put this? Let me just say, after her character was introduced, I found myself going back to the credits to confirm something. You'll see something and you need to confirm. And what the costume and makeup team did with that particular character was awesome because it helps differentiate something. You know who this is and you know who the other person is based on the makeup and the costume. So that was pretty awesome. I really love the jumpers. The jumpers look really cool. It's something that you can actually wear. I don't know if it's the lighting or it's the colorist, but generally those jumpers look really, 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 really good. Now, going back to the props, the bunker has different rooms. So you have like the sleeping area, you have the diary area, you have the sitting area, you have the garden area. And they are all, number one, color coded. Number two, they're all lit differently. So whenever you go into that space, you know that you're going into a different space. The garden space for me was my favorite because of how it's lit. They put lights behind the flowers and it creates this really interesting look. It's a very small space, but they do something very interesting with that particular space. Now, the other thing, the camera people look like they were having a great time. There are a lot of experimental camera movements, and I appreciated that because it gives the experience a trippy feel. It's very disorienting with some camera decision that they make. It takes you, it just puts you in the state of the character by just using the camera. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the things that they do, you go like, wow, I like that you guys actually took time to actually play, not just do the same old thing that you see on TV whereby it's just a camera and then you shoot. They were actually playing around with the camera. So I thought that was pretty cool. I also like something they do with updates. If you've ever used technology, and these are the small things that I actually loved. You've ever had a phone you just want to send a file by Google Drive and then it has to update. And so you have to sit there So I like those small things. The other things with the characters that I found very riveting, and this goes to the direction. This goes to how they were able to utilize editing and pacing. So they don't like give you everything. So you're given enough information per episode to keep you engaged for that episode. And when you jump to the next episode, secrets are just revealed. And that just keeps you on tour throughout. Because you'll pick a favorite character. But then something will reveal and you go like, no, this guy, nah, I think I'll just hop to another character. Because you like a character, or you hate a character, something will be revealed about them, and you'll swap, go to another character, and you find yourself back. Because there's just so much mystery. There's so much mystery into all who these people are, and the fact that they cannot share personal information, that just makes some scenes super intense. Like there's this scene that they're supposed to re-register, and so now you have to hear them talk about themselves, talk about the challenges that they're going through. And my goodness, the performances are pretty awesome. So number one is the direction. The direction is very intentional in terms of editing and pacing, because the director just feeds you small bits with time. I don't know if it's the writing or the direction, but I love that idea of just feeding you small things, taking you back because there's flashbacks. And then within the flashback going like, you know what, let's just take you back a bit more. Then they take you back a bit more, and then you're like, oh, I see this character. So when now you look at the character seated there, you don't look at them the same way that you were looking at them before. Yeah, it's a flashback, you're looking at this character, but that other flashback gives you so much about this person that you don't look at them the same way that you are looking at them before. All the characters have issues, weird issues. Some are just, what you'd expect. Others are like, what? Others are relevant to some things that are happening in our country currently. Think of cults. And basically, talking about performances, let me just give you a list of the characters and the colors that they were given, the code of colors that they were given. So we have Peter Kawa as black, we have Melvin Alusa as red, we have Cindy Kahuha as orange. And Cindy Kahuha did something very interesting. I really liked what she did. We have Biko Nyongesa as brown. Brown is like the street guy. He's like he's like the guy from Eastlands, if you understand what I'm talking about, and he loves chicks, so that just adds a different dynamic to the show and to the characters. There's nice Githinji who's grey, there's Foi Wambui who's pink, there's Pauline Komu who's yellow. Very, very interesting character with the... Actually, Pauline, yellow gives a particular episode one of the best background music style that you'll ever see in a show, because they do something interesting with a particular song without that being the song, and just fits into the mood of that particular scene. There is Bhavesh Chudasama, green, that's like the Asian dude. And then the other people, they're like Philippa Ndisi-Herrmann. She is like the person who's running the project, and she has that look. She got the look. I think that casting was very interesting, because she has, if you talk about project manager, she has the look. And that was pretty convincing. So I thought all these guys did a fantastic job. I mean, there are moments that are absolutely terrifying. Like there's a moment with Pink. She sees a vision of something, and it threw me off because of where they were able to take that scene. It actually startled me because of what they presented. And that goes back to costume design, because they do something very interesting with that particular scene, with what she sees as whatever she sees. It's very terrifying, but it's also very interesting in the way it's framed, number one, by the cinematographers, and the costume. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, going back to interesting characters, Peter Kawa's character, and here's the thing, again with the direction, nothing just happens. Now, the character just doesn't do something. They're so well thought through that when they do something, you understand because of what has been established. Now, for example, with the character of Black, something happens in the bunker, and he jumps into action. And so with what he's doing, it makes sense for him to do what he's doing. You get? And the solution that they get for that particular problem, it comes from a character who has already been established, having done something or being obsessed with something. So it makes a lot of sense for some decisions to be made by characters based on who they were in the real world, and how who they were in the real world affects them in the bunker. So there are all those things that actually just add up and just add to the experience, because every episode feels fresh. Every episode feels fresh in the tension. Every episode feels fresh in the revolutions. Every episode feels fresh in how it's able to just get you engaged. Now, as I said, cinematography was pretty awesome. The coloring is pretty good with the colored lights, and how sometimes they're able to utilize light to actually frame the characters. I thought that was pretty cool. So it looks good. Now, now let's look at some of the things that I did not like, because I did not give it a 5 out of 5. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Number one was improv. You know, I don't want to say that they should have done that, but I thought the script was a bit stiff for the characters. I think it was, yes, it makes sense for who they are. For example, Red is a very stiff character, and that's allowed because of who he is. But you have a character like Pink, who is also who she is, because she's very playful. She's that one character who wants to be liked. Now, when I talk of improv, there's a scene that we have with Red and Pink after a traumatic event. Something huge happens, and so they're in the shower, they're taking a bath, and then Red kind of zones out, and then Pink notices and she goes like, "Are you okay?" And Red goes like, "Yeah." And I'm like, that was an opportunity to do something interesting, because you have a character who's struggling to be liked, and you have a character who's super stoic. So I would think that her natural, if she was to do this in the natural world, it would sound like, "Hey dude, are you okay?" Then you go like, "Yeah." Go like, "Yeah, you should take care, man. We don't want you to drown in the shower." And then she gives that awkward laugh, because she's trying to diffuse the situation. She's that character who's always trying to make sure that everyone is happy. She's that character who's trying to always be happy. So you'll have her with these awkward jokes in order to just try to settle things down. So I thought there would be room for people to be natural. Brown was the most natural one. He was reacting to situations in the most natural way. All the other characters just felt a bit stiff. Yes, it makes sense, but I wish there were moments of improv, moments of reaction that would feel a bit natural. But that's just a small bit. The other thing that I did not like was the AI, the concept of AI. No, the concept of using the word AI. I wish they would have used a different name, like SIS, which was Subterranean Intelligence System, or 001, or 000, or just O, or just 0. Just a cool name that is outside the AI. You know why? Because that's just time stamping your production. Because 10 years, 20 years from now, when someone is going to see this show and they hear you talk about AI, they're going to be like, "Oh, that's the show that came out back in 2000, in the middle of 2020s, you know. That's the show that came out when everyone was obsessed with AI. Think of slow-mo and bullet timers." When you see that, you go like, that's a movie from the 2000s, after The Matrix. You know, you've locked yourself into a trend. You've locked yourself into a time period, rather than having this being a timeless show. And that could only happen if you do not use the word AI. I like Pink's idea of actually naming the AI system. I thought that was a brilliant idea. And I was like, yes, the writers of this show are self-conscious. They know about that. Yeah, making, you know, a system, giving a system a name humanizes it and makes it feel more like everything else. Now, the biggest problem that I had with the AI idea was, before they go into the bunker, we see the interface of the AI, and it looks so cool. I was like, yes, I love this. And then you go to the bunker, and then you have this face with all digital lines aside, and then those blinking stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this is too noisy, and it's too cliche. It's what you'd expect a Kenyan to make in terms of a AI interface. I thought the first one was cooler. I wish they would have used that with the white circle. I thought that was far more effective. Number one, because it's much cleaner, it's much more clinical, it's much more mysterious, and it's much more lifeless. Let me just put it that way. It's much more lifeless. It's much more colder. It's much more separated from these people. The other thing is that there's a use of circles everywhere. Like, for example, during the re-registration process, you can see the characters framed by a circular light. When you go to the bathroom, there's a circular glass. In the sitting area, there are circles behind. So I thought circle was a big part of the show, and I wish it would have also been used within the, within the AI system, especially below the banker. That face was not cool. That was too generic. It was stereotypical, generic, and what you'd expect a Kenyan to make as an AI interface. The white circle, that was pretty cool. That was much cooler than the face. And the other thing that I did not like was the sitting room, the sitting area. Now with the mid and close-ups, works perfectly. It's awesome. That circular sofa looks fantastic with the mid and the close-ups. And with the characters close-ups, it works very well. But now when you step back and you now get that wide shot of the AI, the sofa, the backgrounds, it totally transforms and becomes more like a theater stage, like a stage designed for theater, because you can see all the unpolished props, like the sofa, the backside of the sofa. You see creases, you see things that just makes it look slightly cheaper than what is presented with the close-ups and the mid shots. Now, am I saying that I wish the prop team would have given it a bit more detail, maybe used a darker cloth around the back so that it just, it just gets rid of the creases, which just makes it look very, very cheap. And maybe it would have been framed differently to capture the best parts about that particular room. Maybe an aerial shot in the front to capture that circle and to capture that round thing. Again, circles. I wish it would have just been framed different, because there's one shot that I looked at and I was like, wow, that's a problem. There's another one I looked at and I was like, yeah, that could work because of where the camera was. But there are some shots, there are some wide shots, especially in that room, that just make some scenes look a bit cheap and a bit noisy, because you have lights on this side. You can see the lights, you can see all the other things that are placed on the wall all together in a particular scene. And so you have kind of a visual chaos where you don't know where to take your eye. And when you now draw back a bit and you see the AI, you can actually focus on the AI rather than all this noise, because you have white, you have characters, you have all this other noise in the background. And still on that particular room, they use dark blue. They use like really deep blue color. And I'm looking at characters like black, red, and brown. They are very dark people, and they're wearing dark vests. So sometimes when they're standing behind, they kind of get lost in the wall. But that's me being super petty. That's me overreaching. Yeah, so I wish they would have used either a different vest, either a lighter color vest. Yes, the seats are white, but every time the character stands, you can kind of see them, disappear in the walls. The other scene, there's another scene that I was like, yeah, you're working too hard to pull my emotional strings. This is, you're just overreaching in a way. You are overworking to actually make me feel something. There's a scene with a walkie-talkie and someone else speaking on the other side. I don't want to say who. You have to see the show for yourself. And this person keeps going on about how they're feeling, how the fire is burning them, how they're looking, how they're talking about their whatever, how they're looking for whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but that's you're literally telling us, feel something, feel pity. I mean, feel the pain of feel the suffering of those people who are up there. And for me, it felt a bit unrealistic, because I think it would have been a better idea if the walkie-talkie was on, and then you would hear what that person was going through in the background. Maybe they were talking to the parents, maybe they were trying to wake up the sisters, maybe they were trying to do something else. Rather than have them talk to the walkie-talkie, you just have them talk to the people around them, whether they are dead or alive. You have them maybe scream in pain, because what they are saying they are feeling versus how they are reacting to that, it was not believable for me. It wasn't believable, because you can't talk of burning and go like, oh, I feel I'm burning. No, that person will be screaming, especially when you think about that person. They will be screaming their asses off. They will be asking for ambulances. They will be asking for other things. You don't feel the pain of this person, because they are telling you what's happening. And so that I thought was, I wish it would have been the walkie-talkie just fell somewhere, and then you can hear them screaming and trying to wake up whoever they're trying to wake up, or telling whoever they're talking to what they're feeling, or them talking through a phone, or them trying to call out for anyone to help them. That would have been more believable. And what they do with the AI afterward, because the AI comes to play because someone asked something about the AI to give them a picture of what's happening. I thought that was a better description of what should have been told on the walkie-talkie, because that was more believable. That was more that was more clear. That was not trying to make us feel something. That was more like, yes, that's what's going down. ABCD. If ABCD happens, ABCD happens. ABCD must have happened. So I liked that. I kind of like that rather than trying to make us like super feel something. Yeah, so this is a great show. The other things that I actually forgot to mention in terms of the goods, the exposition is handled very well, especially with what happens. They give it its own backstory and the possibilities of that happening. So I thought that was pretty effective. The other thing is that there are some decent action set pieces. So yeah, this is a great show. It's not, I wouldn't call it the perfect sci-fi. Don't go for it for the sci-fi element, because the sci-fi is just it's just a backdrop for the drama that takes place between all these people. I mean, there are characters like Nice Githinji's characters, which are just super mysterious. You don't know what they're up to, because they give them something that keeps you on toes throughout. You don't know what she's doing there. You know, throughout the show, you do not know what she's doing there. So there are these things about these particular individuals trapped in this room that is far more interesting than what you'd call the sci-fi element about the show. The sci-fi element is just there to bring you in. But it's a very, very rich experience in terms of psychological thriller. Actually, that's the best way to put it. It's a psychological thriller that perfectly keeps you engaged throughout the episode. And you watch these people, and the choice of these personalities was absolutely masterful, because they are just very, very interesting people to follow. So basically that's it. If you've seen Subterranea, it's on Showmax, so make the time. It's worth your money. It's definitely worth your money. I like what Showmax is doing with local shows. I like the kind of shows that they're currently giving us, the kind of opportunity that they're giving to young creative. They're not like super structured in that you have to give us this particular show that feels like this. No, this feels more, I really like this. Let me just put it that way. I really like this. There are dramas that you'll see that you know. There are people you see, like Green has such an interesting background that it will fascinate you. Black has an interesting background that you can relate to. Some people can relate to, especially as parent men. Pink has a very, very interesting arc in terms of what's happening with Akina Shakahola and stuff. But generally, this is a great show. Give it a try, and if you've seen it, let me know what you think. Yeah, I'd really like to know what you think about the show, because this was like effort from all these different teams came out with their A game, and we finally have this. So basically that's it. Remember to always watch what you enjoy and enjoy what you watch. I shall see you on the next one. Adios.